We'll get to Josh Donaldson. We'll get to Homer Bailey and Rich Hill. The Twins are making news, whether you like it or not. And, of course, Roy predicted long ago, or at least advised, that maybe going after a hitter was a smarter move than going after a pitcher. We'll see if that ends up coming true. Last year, about this time, we were saying they should sign Nelson Cruz, and then they quickly did, and that turned out pretty well. But let's start today's Roy Smalley show, Roy Smalley's Chin Music, with a shout-out to the Gopher football team. We do have a new Gopher show on TalkNorth.com. Marcus Full and Ryan James, and they are covering all sports, including basketball. But we're going to talk a little bit about Gopher football here, just because we haven't done a ton of Gopher stuff on this network up until now. This is Roy Smalley's Chin Music. It is part of the TalkNorth.com podcast network. Thanks for sponsor Berry Coffee, berrycoffee.com. And check it. Please follow us on Twitter at TalkNorthPod. And thanks to our producer, Brandon Morton. So let's start there. You're a big college football fan. You went to USC. I went to Missouri. Unfortunately, we don't have a college football program, but I still like college football. And that was very entertaining to sit home on New Year's Day, not only watch a Gopher team play, but watch a Gopher team play a highly entertaining game.
You bet. And I just wanted to shout out to them for all those reasons. I mean, they dominated. They absolutely dominated a very good and very highly ranked team. And if they don't give up a kickoff return for a touchdown, I mean, it's not even close. I mean, and I think a performance like that was just from all walks of life. And we're a baseball show, and we're a Major League Baseball show, but we're also Minnesotans and Gopher sports fans, all Gopher sports, and to see what PJ Fleck has done and to watch the game plan that they had and the way those kids executed the game plan, I was just thrilled for them, and thrilled for all of us to watch a game like that. So I guess I just wanted to say that it just felt really good.
Well, I'll highlight a couple things again, because I don't really talk much Gopher football across the network, although we are adding to our network and we are going to cover more Gopher sports. And I do recommend Marcus and Ryan's show. There's certain things I like, and winning, of course, everybody likes that. But I like, I'm a sports writer. It's like I spend a lot of time watching games. I spend a lot of time covering games, writing about games. And there are certain things within victories that I really like. I love aggressiveness from coaches. PJ going for it on fourth down. I love that, especially in a bowl game. I mean, why would you hold back in this situation? And the fact that they convert it makes it easy to like that, but I would have applauded that even if those attempts hadn't come through. The fact that Tyler Johnson, who's this great representative of Minnesota sports, started at North High School, played quarterback there, commits to the local school, has a great 4-year career, and then goes out with one of maybe his greatest performance. That's the kind of story anybody can get behind. And then I will point out a couple things. They won right after their offensive coordinator left. That's not easy to do. They improved in two ways really remarkably during the season. And that's hard to do. It's hard to improve during a season. Their offensive line did not play very well in the non-conference schedule. And on Wednesday, it really dominated a very good Auburn defensive front. And their quarterback, Tanner Morgan, who's kind of a game manager last year, he got passed over to be a starter by a true freshman, Zach Annexstad, before Annexstad got hurt. And Morgan threw some, iffy interceptions at the beginning of the season. He threw an iffy interception to start this game. And then he's a very composed, positive kid. He comes through with a brilliant performance the rest of the game. I mean, that stuff's fun.
It's absolutely fun. And that's kind of what I was talking about, just the performance of the players. And you can go right down the line, everybody doing the job that that they were kind of what they're out there to do and they were asked to do in the game plan. And you could see it. I mean, you could see the way the defensive line and the linebackers played, what they were trying to do. You're right about the offensive line. You're right about Tanner Morgan. I don't know what more you can say about Tyler Johnson. It was a spectacular performance. But I mean, just right down the line, the defensive backs played well. Everything. I mean, they just dominated a really, really good club. So that was really fun to watch. And the thing that I said at the beginning of the year, because I expected I really thought that Ibrahim might play a big role this year. I know they have the two kids coming back as seniors, excuse me, and Rodney Smith and Shannon Brooks, and those guys are great runners. But I watched it, what really struck me was that PJ Fleck and the coaching staff are talking about how improved the offensive line was this year over last year. And I thought about that. I said, do you mean to tell me that Ibrahim did what he did last year with an offensive line that they didn't think was playing very well? I mean, you got to be kidding me. This kid is a stud, and I love watching. I just love him being in the game. He always falls forward. I mean, he's just he's really some kind of good runner, and it makes me very excited about next year's Gopher team and take the same offensive line and run him behind it. So I don't know. I think it's true that the Flex got this program really on the upswing, obviously, and that's fun for the state of Minnesota. I mean, I don't think anybody can deny. I mean, I'm a transplanted LA guy, and as you say, I'm a Trojan, but I've lived here a long time. This is my home, and boy, you want to go for athletic teams and particularly football to be good programs, and it looks like that's what's happening.
Absolutely. And, we can continue to talk about college football as we go through the year, too, because there's going to be a lot of stuff. It's going to be a fascinating program from here on out. Let's get to baseball now. The Twins sign Homer Bailey and Rich Hill. I've been asked a lot about that on some of the radio hits I do. And I'll give you my view of it, and then I'll get the experts' view of it. My view is that Homer Bailey is veteran depth. He might be able to help out early in the season. Who knows exactly what you get out of him over 6 months, but maybe he just gets you through, some spot starts and some long relief early in the year, and that might be enough. Rich Hill is a very good left-handed pitcher when he's healthy and when he can stay on the mound. And while, again, you might not know how many innings you're going to get out of Rich Hill, if Rich Hill is healthy in October, he's a guy you wouldn't mind seeing on the mound at Yankee Stadium.
You're going to get 5 of the best innings you're ever going to see out of Rich Hill, time in, time out, or maybe exactly. 4 2/3. I mean, that's what you're going to see from him. I mean, he's really good for 5 innings, and in today's world, especially when you're left-handed, that ain't all bad. But let's not kid ourselves. I mean, those two guys are placeholders until looking for. What Gratterall's going to do, looking for what Romero's going to do, looking for some of these other guys to grow up and step forward and all that kind of stuff. In the meantime, they're big league pitchers, and they're going to give the team a chance to win if they're the ones ultimately that out of spring training are the guys that are called on to be part of the rotation. I mean, it's a pretty inexpensive insurance policy or two for it. Anytime you get guys like that competing for a spot in the rotation, it's better than what for sure that you have, right? So they're looking at the club and saying, okay, we've got a terrific offense, and we have made some moves in the bullpen, and some guys have stepped forward in the bullpen. We think we're going to be pretty good there. So what's a chance of 5 starting pitchers? Who can we put out there 5 days in a row that are going to give us 5 innings and 2 runs? And we'll take our chances from there. Obviously, they have higher expectations for Barrios. They have higher expectations, at least by an inning or so, for Odorizzi. And based on what the big guy did last year before he got suspended, Michael Pineda, they expect a little bit better than that out of him because he showed that. Now after that, we're gonna compete for some spots. We got a couple of big league pitchers that can compete and give us a chance to win until we come up with a little bit more traditional solution, and that could still happen. There's still a chance to make a trade for somebody that can be a legitimate, a really good starter that everybody would look at and say, oh, well, he really adds to the rotation. Still could happen, and I have high hopes that that they'll entice Donaldson over there, because it improves defense at third base, and it gives you a good offensive player. It gives them a lot of flexibility for not only the lineup and putting people in positions that are good, but also some flexibility about making trades. So, Homer Bailey and Rich Hill, again, insurance policies and big league pitchers that are going to give you a chance to win most days, most likely, and then we'll see what develops from there.
Let's talk more about Josh Donaldson. Do want to thank Berry Coffee, berrycoffee.com. I've been telling you that one of the things I love about their company is when you call their company on the phone, a human being answers, and it's very helpful. I really miss that about our world. But I also set up for auto pay on the website, so you can do it that way too. You get the best of both worlds. You can do it fully automated. Just type in your credit card number and everything's taken care of, or you can call people directly and they'll be very helpful. I love that. I've been drinking a lot of the Berry Coffee Bull Run blend lately. I think I've said many times that I love the French roast. Now I'm kind of getting into the Bull Run blend, which I know Roy favors as well. And I tell you what, I travel. I have coffee in hotels. I have coffee at big box, type stores. I was just at the Vikings yesterday, and I had a bunch of the K-Cup coffees from a bunch of different brands out there. And nothing compares to having your own machine and having high quality Berry coffee available to you. It's still the best coffee I have no matter where I go, and it doesn't cost you $8 a cup when you make it at home. It's an affordable way to have great coffee. Berry Coffee, berrycoffee.com. All right, so again, last year, we kind of took the same route here. We said, yeah, it would be great if the Twins sign a big name free agent pitcher. It's probably not going to happen. You have to talk about it. You have to talk about the possibilities, but probably not going to happen. But Nelson Cruz, you can get pretty cheap, and he might make a big difference. And that's what happened. This year, same thing. We talked about how great it would be if you could get Cole or Ryu or somebody, but we didn't ever really think that was going to happen. Donaldson's more realistic, and you've been talking about him or someone like him for a long time.
Yeah, I have, I kind of daydream fantasized about getting Rendon over there at third base. I mean, I didn't think that was going to happen either with the money that he commands. But my point, as we've made before, is that it gives you the flexibility. It improves your club and gives you flexibility to go do some other things. And I think Donaldson fits that bill as well. The question is the amount of money and his age, and the fact that he was hurt, and then it took him a long time to recover from being hurt and get back to the form that we saw when he was an all-star and an MVP caliber player. But he did that, came back and showed that last year, and he's worth the gamble for me on age and injury, because he's a terrific athlete. He's got a great body in terms of being strong and lean. He's got a great personality. He's got a great stomach. He's a tough guy. I just don't think there's an awful lot of downside, and the flexibility, once you get another strong right-hand hitter like that, all of a sudden what opens up for you in terms of people you can trade for a starting pitcher, if a really good deal and a really good pitcher presents itself and the deal makes sense, I think that it just adds to the quality of your big league lineup. And adds the quality of your roster all the way down through the minor leagues that allows you to make a trade. So, he's not a 10-year solution, but he's I think a 3-year plus up for the Twins lineup and I'd like to see him step up and entice him away from going to Washington or staying with Atlanta.
And reportedly, the Twins have made a 4-year offer for him, and it's probably going to take around $100 million to get him. So there is a little risk on the back end of that, but it might be worth it to get somebody who can play third base, move Sano to first base, maybe, as you said, free up the ability to trade prospects or current players for pitching, and give you another very reliable veteran bat in the middle of the lineup. Because as good as the Twins lineup was last year, you're still talking about some pretty young guys and some guys who, produced homers who don't necessarily take great at bats, and great at bats in tough situations. He could change a lot of those things.
That's absolutely right. That's what I was talking about. Just his mental makeup, the fact that he's done it before, he's not scared. He thrives and revels in big situations. He wants to drive in runs. I can't wait till he's running up to, when guys get on base, he's running up to the batter's box. And that's the kind of guy that you'd love to have, on your club. And the other thing I think to think about is, and I'm okay with the risk on the back end. I'm okay with the 4th year having him not be as good. It's a lot of money, but it's a guy. It's not a guy that every 5th day. It's a guy who can go out there and beat you every day. I learned that. I might have said this, told this Gene Mock conversation before, but this is one of those things where I think it is apt. I was a kid way back when the Cincinnati Gene Mock was managing the Phillies. I'm pretty sure it was this trade happened when he was managing the Phillies, when the Baltimore Orioles traded Milt Pappas, very good starting pitcher for them, to the Cincinnati Reds for Frank Robinson. Now, inexplicably to me, why the Cincinnati Reds would have done that, I still to this day I don't know. But I asked Gene about it, and I had to be, 13, 14 years old, something like that, and I said, what do you think about that trade? And because I was just thinking about, why would the Reds have done that, or is Pappas that good, and all those kinds of things. And Gene was thinking about it totally differently, as per usual with him. He said, I love that trade. I go, really? You think they should have made that trade? He goes, I don't really care whether they should have made it or not. All I know is Milt Pappas can beat me once every 5 days. Frank Robinson beats me every day he's out there. So it's kind of that deal. I like spending money on quality players that go out there and play every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, one of the cool things about being an old guy who spent some time in Baltimore, I got to see Frank Robinson play live, and man, combination of power, toughness, clutch hitting, in baseball intelligence. What a thrill to see that guy play.
We talked about Frank when he passed away. We talked about him on this show, and I said then in a number of public forums, including our show here, he does not get the credit that he and the recognition that he is due. I mean, people talk about Aaron and his contemporaries, Aaron and Mays, and those kinds of guys. And Frank Robinson was a complete player, and you look at his statistics, it's eye-popping at how good he was. He was a good outfielder, hard-nosed player, and he was fantastic.
Absolutely. Let's wrap up the show with something a little different. You had some Twitter requests to revisit a subject we've talked about. Sometimes I think we should do that more often, because you've told the great story about Paul McCartney and your honeymoon, and I didn't marry Paul McCartney. It wasn't our honeymoon, but it was. Well, that's what you call a teaser, Roy. You don't give away the whole story. You just get people intrigued so they listen.
Sorry.
Yeah. So we will get to that story. Sometimes you told some great stories about Oscar Gamble and Yogi Berra. We'll get some of those again. Maybe we'll do a vintage segment each week. But this week, people were requesting talking about the Gopher USC College World Series game, or was it College World Series, or was it regional final? I'm trying to remember.
Oh no, it was College World Series.
That's right. Yeah. So I'll let you take it, because I've always loved this story. I'll let you tell it.
1973 was the year, and people were asking me about, how great Winfield was. Winfield pitched against us that year, and in that game, and people on Twitter were asking me, about how good he was and all that, and what happened in that game. There are a lot of things that happened in that game, and I want to set the stage a little bit, if I can. In 70 and 71, the USC Trojan baseball team won back-to-back national championships, and no one before had ever won more than two, and as it turns out, no one since has ever won more than two, with this exception. I transferred into school into USC out of a junior college just in time for my sophomore baseball season, spring of 1972, and so I transferred into a tradition-laden program who had just won 2 College World Series in a row and national championships in a row, and we were going to try to set a new record by making it 3. And we ended up, a long story short, I'll get to 73, but we did win in 72 for our third straight. We had to come out of the losers bracket and beat Arizona State, which was just a powerhouse at that time. They arguably a better club than we had, but we beat them. I think it was 3-1 or 1-0 to win our third in a row. So now we come back in 1974, and Freddie Lynn's playing center field, and I'm playing shortstop, and Rich Dower transferred in from a junior college as a junior to play third base, and all of a sudden we were a very good team. The starting lineup and our number one starting pitcher all got as high as AAA, I believe, maybe with one exception. There were, besides Freddie and Rich Dower and me, we had a couple of guys. Our catcher, Eddie Putman, played in the big leagues for a little while with Detroit. We had some guys with Randy Scarberry play. Our pitcher pitched for the White Sox for a little bit. So, we had a good team. So we get there, and I got to believe that we're favored, and we win our first 3 games going away, and now we have to or 4 games, whatever it was, and there are 3 teams left. There's Arizona State with 1 loss, Minnesota with 1 loss, and we were undefeated and set to play Minnesota. So if Minnesota beats us, and that's a 3-way round robin, it's a 3-way single elimination tournament from there on to see who's going to win. If we win, Minnesota's eliminated, and Arizona State would have to beat us twice, and there was just no way that was going to happen. So this is a big game obviously for both Minnesota and for us, and so now the drama kind of starts, and we hear that Dave Winfield is going to pitch for them, and we had like our 5th starter. We were kind of toast that particular game on the mound, and we had a 5th starter, a guy named Cliff Holland, a left-handed pitcher that was the classic goofy left-handed pitcher, and we all knew Winfield because we had played. Most of us played summer baseball various places. I played in Anchorage, Alaska. Winnie played in Fairbanks, so I played against him a lot. We all knew either had played against and hit against Winfield or knew of him. So we're sitting around. Our legendary coach Rod Dato we have a pregame meal, and we're sitting around a big long table, and we're going to a scouting report. So here's the first hitter for Minnesota. Anybody know him? Second hitter, third hitter. Okay, hitting 4th, Dave Winfield. And we all know Dave Winfield, but our left-handed pitcher pipes up and says, I played with him in Fairbanks. We were teammates. I don't think he likes the ball, in on him at all. Anytime the ball's close to him, it gets him really upset. I think that his first time up, I'm just going to knock him down. And Freddie Lynn jumps up and goes, no, oh, no, we're not doing that, because when he stepped to the plate and released the ball, it looked like he was about halfway to the plate, and threw about 190. So, I mean, it's like, no, pal, you're not knocking the pitcher down here, the opposing pitcher down. You're not doing that. So that's what started the whole deal. Now we go out and we play the game, and our starting pitcher gets rocked, and Winnie is just sticking it to us. He had a one-hitter, I think, one-hit shutout through 8 innings. They were beating us 7-0. And, I mean, we were done. We were absolutely done. And here's where the nuanced stuff starts coming in, all the other ins and outs and what have yous. It's the top of the ninth. We're already in the back of our mind saying, okay, we got to see what the coin flip will be. See if we're playing, or if we're how the round robin, the 3-team round robin is going to go. And we go out there in the top of the ninth, and it's 7-0, and we're 3-time in a row national champions, and we're down, and the first guy up for Minnesota tries to bunt for a hit. Well, we've talked on this show and other places about those unwritten rules in baseball, but showing up, trying to get another run at that point in time, Freddie in center field went absolutely crazy. He was screaming. We were all yelling at this guy for bunt. You don't do that to us. And the second guy gets up and he tries to bunt for a hit. Well, Freddie Lynn is the most mild-mannered guy I think I've ever been around. There's only one other thing that I've ever seen him get really riled up about, and that's if UCLA ever beats SC in baseball. And so, because he can't stand UCLA. So Freddie is just screaming. We get him out. It's still 7-0. We come in to our dugout. We're all just pissed, and Freddie is so mad. It was the old-fashioned dugout, dugouts with chain link on the front of it that is from about waist high to head high. Freddie came in and ripped the chain link right. He pulled the chain link right off the moorings. I mean, I've never ever seen him like that. And so obviously it just fired everybody up. I don't know that we thought we were going to win, but everybody was just going to take some really great at bats in the bottom of the ninth. Winfield's still out there. He's throwing 140 or 50 pitches. And see, that was the thing about Winnie, because, he threw hard, but he because he was a little wild and because his stuff was tough. I mean, every count went to 3-2, it seemed like. And so he had thrown a lot of pitches, even though he had really, stuck it to us. And we go up there and we scored 2 or 3 runs. They take Winnie out, put him out in left field, bring somebody else in. The end of the story is that we got 7 or 8 singles in a row, something like that, with some walks mixed in. And with the score, he goes out 7-2, 7-3. Now it's 7-5 or 6, something like that. Coach Seaver had been thrown out of the game because there was a disputed call at first base, and he thought he was out. I had some guys on Twitter, tweet he was out, that kind of thing. I mean, I don't even remember. I just remember that the chief got thrown out, and George Thomas was the assistant coach, and he went out to try to bring Winnie in. Now, this is pretty interesting. Come to find out later, our pitching coach was out in the bullpen down the left field line, and he had been talking to Winnie that whole inning. Hey, Dave, boy, what a great job. You're going to be a high draft pick. What a great performance. He's just talking to him. Now they want the coach comes in, Thomas comes out to bring Winnie back in, and our coach is going, oh, Winnie, you can't do that. Dave, you've thrown 160 pitches. Your arm's cold. You go back in there. You could hurt your arm. You're going to be drafted number 1 in the country. You really want to jeopardize? I mean, he is just working him. And when he stands out there, folds his arms, raises one hand, kind of like what Freddie did, saying in our pregame meal, no, you're not going to throw him down. He wagged his finger and said, nope, I'm staying here. I'm not coming back in. So they brought somebody else in. We tied the game with another base hit, made it 7-7. That Coach Dato put in the backup shortstop to me, a fellow named Marvin Cobb, who you will probably remember being the NFL guy. He was he was a great cornerback for the Trojan football team, as well as being a nice baseball player. And he ended up playing for the Cincinnati Bengals for a long time. Terrific guy, terrific athlete. My goodness, and he could fly. And so Coach Dato put him in to run at first base. There's 2 outs. Everybody in the ballpark knows that Marvin's going to take off for second, and sure enough, I mean, the first pitch, off he goes, steals second, safe. Next pitch or two, our little left fielder Creighton Tevlin, our leadoff hitter, grounds one up the middle, and Marvin scores standing up, and we win 8-7. It was the most amazing comeback that I've ever been a part of, and we ended up beating Arizona State the next night to win our 4th straight national championship. And the Arizona State guys that I played with the following summer, some of them, I played with them at Boulder, Colorado that summer after the World Series. They all told me that we were walking back after that game, after you guys came back and did that, and we were all looking at each other going, we can't beat those guys. It was really an incredible game, and there were all kinds of obviously things going on in that game that people don't know about, other than we came back and won 8-7.
Great stuff, and we will do that. We'll add a vintage episode, a vintage segment of each episode, and we're also going to talk more about music and TV and all that other kind of stuff. Some of our favorite things, but I think we'll let that stand for today. Thanks to everyone who listens. Again, follow us on Twitter at Talk North Pod. That's where you can see our new Gopher show being released and get all the new shows as they come out. You can find all the shows at talknorth.com. Thanks to our producer, Brandon Morton. And thanks to everybody who's listened and allowed us to grow as a network. We'll talk to Roy and all of you next week.